Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking, right side. He wants it. A comeback cut. It is caught by Kelce. Touchdown, Kansas City. The game is over. The Kansas City Chiefs are champions. How about those Chiefs?
Welcome to the Kingdom Corner here with Andrew and Dale. Man, we are recapping the game against the Chargers. Man, another division game, but Dale, not quite as close as we thought it was going to be.
No, we were totally off. So I think we should always guess the scores a little closer. And that way, then the Chiefs will prove us wrong and blow them out like they did this past Sunday.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, you got their score right at least at 17 points. So, man, it's, yeah, well done, sir. Well done for getting their score right, if nothing else. So, yeah, I guess neither one of us was close, but you're probably close if either of us is the score of 17-24. So, Chiefs came right out of the gate, though, hot and ready on offense.
Right.
So here's a question I got for you off the bat. Does Mecole Hardman, even though he didn't play many snaps, did he make a difference? Is he the one that's helping to bring this team together?
Right. It has to be crazy to be the New York Jets and to think, like, we just gave this guy away, and the impact that he had on the game was so incredible. I know both of us weren't, like, super excited about having Mecole Hardman, but maybe I've changed a little bit. Just the impact he had immediately. I mean, just being only in the building since Thursday, just a few days before game, and so it's going to continue to ramp up, and he's going to play so much better. But yeah, his punt return, electrified the crowd, and then a couple catches, or one catch maybe. I know he dropped one. So he
fit right in from the beginning, dropping that one, right?
Right. Yeah, fit right in. And then I think it's weird to see him with number 12. That was strange.
Yeah, it was.
So
because if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the guy who was returning the punts before he came over, wasn't he wearing number 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it threw me off at first, like, oh, I guess Mecole Hardman's not returning punts, and what do you know? There he is, number 12. So but yeah, he had one catch for 6 yards in the game, 3 targets. But hey, maybe just his presence alone and knowing the system is going to help the Chiefs out. So here's an interesting thought that was put out by Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, where Mecole Hardman came from. He said that the emergence of Xavier Gipson changed the equation at wide receiver for the Jets, which ultimately led to Mecole Hardman not playing and eventually getting traded. And he went on to say that Gipson took advantage of the reps that he got in training camp when Hardman was banged up in OTAs and so forth.
Yeah.
I thought at this point, it seems like they're just grasping for straws over the Jets facility, trying to find out excuses for why they let good players go and why people aren't performing the way they are. I mean, a week ago he says that they embarrassed every quarterback. Now they're saying the reason they got rid of Mecole Hardman is because some other guy outperformed him when he was injured. I mean, what are we doing here?
I don't know. It's like the excuse train's coming. It's all aboard the New York Jets. It's got to be frustrating just to look across or look on the TV that day and see, like, oh man, this guy made a huge difference. Why didn't we have him return kicks, or why didn't we have him, and so stuff, punts and things like that. So yeah. And I know, like, their whole offense got all jumbled up with Aaron Rodgers going out after 4 snaps or 3 snaps or whatever it was, and so but good to have Mecole Hardman as a Kansas City Chief.
Yeah. So I mean, continuing on the offensive topic here. So just today, there's some breaking news released about Justin Ross. Did you hear this?
I did not.
So Justin Ross has apparently and allegedly, we'll throw those words out there for all those who are listening in, right? Allegedly, he has been arrested on some charges and for what is said to be, quote, criminal damage of more than $25,000. And is potentially facing a felony charge because of these things. So I don't know any more information on that, and I'm not going to try to speculate what it could be, even if others do. But, man, a lot of people were claiming for more time for Justin Ross, and, I'm not trying to get into what did or did not happen here. But, man, if you're on an NFL team, you cannot be making these kind of decisions where And it doesn't matter. Even if you're not in the NFL, let's be honest, you shouldn't be doing these kind of things anyways, right?
Bingo.
You got to be keeping your nose clean, not just because people are looking at you because it's the right thing to do, right? Just
yeah.
So, anyways, but just throwing that out there, like, man, depending on how this all plays out, and allegedly, again, he might have his court date as early as even tomorrow. So I don't know if that's true, but that is what some of the reports are saying. So allegedly, that could be. So don't know what all it entails, but the NFL has been pretty notorious for handing out some discipline for these things, even if they've been found not guilty. The NFL still handed out some discipline for this, so it's possible he might miss a few games here. So
now,
might open up another roster spot for someone.
There you go. Do you remember how long Willie Gay was suspended for his?
I believe it was 4 games.
Wow. Okay. So probably pretty much the same charges, I think, and I mean a little domestic violence in there, but he broke damaged some property as well.
That's right. The difference now is Justin Ross was over $25,000, which carries a potential felony with it, whereas Willie Gay's did not. So
all right,
that's the big difference. Since Willie Gay's wasn't worth over $25,000, there's apparently a difference in the court system for those property damage assessments. So some just to be aware of and keep our eye on, not necessarily just to. Obviously, we're not trying to kick anybody while they're down, so that's not why I'm saying keep an eye on it. But just from a team standpoint of what the Chiefs going to do moving forward, from that aspect, just something to watch out for. Any roster moves that we may see coming up or anything like that, it might be something potentially to do with this Justin Ross situation. So, but continuing on the offensive side, man, anybody stand out to you from the offensive side of the ball in this past game against the Chargers?
Well, it's hard not to say 8-7.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt. I mean, had over 100 yards in the first half, right? And he ended up with the second most yards in his career for a game. So huge. Ended up with 179 yards on 12 receptions and 1 touchdown.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? And then even so he stood out, and then Pat stood out. Not because it's Pat, but the fact that that was the most yards he had thrown for in a half of the first half.
Yeah.
And so that was like something like, oh wow, he is still doing things. Like he beat his own old personal record. Like that was the most yards he had thrown for in a half.
Yeah.
So that was pretty impressive too. So that stands out to you. They're just getting better, and like we've been kind of saying on the podcast here the last couple of weeks is like they're going to figure it out, right? They're going to figure out we're going to trust Andy Reid, we're going to trust Pat Mahomes, and they'll get it figured out. And come October, end of October, November, they'll have it all figured out and be rolling.
Yeah.
So, and I think another thing impressed me about Pat was just how he spreads it around. Like even though it seemed like Travis Kelce was getting the ball every time, I think he had 10 completions to 6 different wide receivers, like within the first quarter. And so that's crazy to think about. And so it has to be maddening as the other defensive coordinators try to figure out, like, okay, who do we stop? Who do we try to stop? Well, he's like, whoever you're taking away, I'm just going to throw it to the other guy. And so it's very cool. But yeah, those 2 guys really impressed me. In fact, there was a stat, and I'll read it now. There was a stat out there floating around on the X. It said, and this goes back to week 5. It said Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have connected on their last 28 targets dating back to week 5. The odds of the duo completing every one of those 28 targets based on the completion probability of each attempt was 0.03%. So that's 1 in 3,000.
That's incredible.
So that's just impressive, the connection they have. And now that we learned this year that Travis Kelce kind of makes up his own routes is hilarious.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Mahomes ended up completing a pass to 10 different receivers in that game. Could have been 11, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire struggled to catch a ball that hit him in the face. So, I mean, understandable, I guess. I might not have caught it either, but I don't know. I feel like if you're in the NFL and it hits you in the face and goes through your hands to do so, that's not a good sign. So,
No.
So brings me to two questions. But first, let's start with Travis Kelce, and then we'll come back to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, follow up with that. But first question about Travis Kelce is, so it is no secret now that Travis Kelce is Patrick Mahomes' biggest weapon in every game that they play.
Right.
Every game they're going into, everybody knows that is his guy. So how does a guy like that go for over 100 yards in the first half against a team? And not only just them, but I mean, other teams as well. He's just been going off in some of these games. So why are teams not doing more to stop him? Right? Like in the second half, we saw the Chargers kind of buckle down a little bit more and hitting him off the line of scrimmage, double covering him. But why were they not doing that to begin with is my question.
Man, I think they're just trying to they used to always talk about Michael Jordan about how, you can't stop him. You only hope to contain him. And I think that's what they try to do. Like Travis Kelce, whether you put two guys on him, man to man, or you choose zone, he's going to figure out a way to get open. He's proven it in his long career here that he will find a way to get open and make big catches. So I think he's like almost unguardable. You put a safety on him, he's going to beat him because he's not used to guarding people on the run. And then so you put a linebacker on, he's too slow to guard Travis Kelce. And so, I just think he's impossible to guard. You only hope that you keep him at like 74, 75 yards a game. That's pretty much what he goes out and you can guarantee that he's going to get 75 yards a game, and boom, mark it down.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. Yeah, and I think the other side, which we've talked about on this podcast before too, is how well Travis Kelce reads the defense.
Yeah.
Right? He gets to the line of scrimmage, sees what they're in, is like, okay, I'm supposed to be running this corner out, but I can see they got two guys deep over there, and it's already not open before the ball snaps, so I'm going to do my own route and go this other way. And it's incredible that he's able to do that and read the defense from the line of scrimmage before the snap. And Pat Mahomes is able to do the same thing and see what Travis sees, and they're just on the same page, even when it's unscripted and not really what the play is called.
Right.
So I think that helps a lot. So, but moving over to the Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing. So at this point, like, once again, we've made it known on here before, and we'll say it again, that we're not against anybody being on the NFL, getting paid. We have all respect for people who make NFL rosters. Right. All right. So again, we're going to say that to start this conversation. But with that said, right. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, should he have a roster spot on his team, or, somebody like Deneric Prince or Pete Ryan, who was in the preseason with us too? Should one of those guys be taking his spot instead?
Man, I think it's safe to say he's a bust at this point. At least for the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, he can go somewhere else and have great success, I think, because he is in college he was a great running back, won a national championship with Joe Burrow and all that. But can catch out of the backfield most of the times when it doesn't hit him in the face. And he's a little bit he's shifty, and so I think he could have a career, but I just don't think for whatever reason it's not working at Kansas City.
Yeah. You can almost guarantee that he'll get you anywhere from 2 to 3 yards in every carry, and very rarely anymore. Right. Like some of these other guys, they might have I don't know how many, but a few breakout runs every game where they're going to get you 8 yards, 10 yards, 20 yards. Clyde might get one, maybe if he's lucky in a game, maybe one of those. Right. And so, are the Chiefs afraid to drop him just because they spent a first-round pick, albeit, the last pick of the first round? But are they afraid to drop him or release him because of that? Or do you think they're holding on to him for some other reason? Do you think they really believe that he's that good?
I wish we would be able to see practices more, So I wonder if they see something in a practice that, like, oh, man, he does this. He really excels here. And then when their lights turn on, it doesn't pan out for him. So I would think that would be the thing. But then again, like, we're not privy to all the practices, so maybe they see like P. Ryan and Prince. Maybe they're not as, they have these flashes in the preseason, but they don't over time, like the long haul, they make things happen. So I think, I don't know what it is about Clyde because Andy Reid's notorious for making running backs that can catch and can run superstars, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Brian Westbrook comes to mind. LaShawn McCoy comes to mind. Jamal Charles had like a resurrection of his career when Andy Reid came, and like just it was like Alex Smith and Jamal Charles show for most those years. So yeah, I think definitely. But I don't know what it is about Clyde.
Yeah, well, maybe it's one of the things that we just won't ever know. And and Andy Reid and his staff, they're very respectful and high class people,
Right.
so they will never say anything negative about any of their players or coaches, whether they deserve it or not. They're not going to say anything about it, and rightfully so. I wouldn't really want them to either, But from a fan perspective, it's a lot of questions we have about that position.
Right.
I mean, when you see a ball hit him in the head or in the face even, right? You think, surely there's somebody else on this roster who could take this spot and catch that ball.
Right.
I mean, they're backed up to their own end zone and trying to get out there and got nothing from it. And maybe if some other guy's in there, he at least gets him, 5, 6, 7 yards, but Clyde had an opening there, could have got maybe even a first down, but couldn't catch the ball. Tried to run before he had it. So anyway, just interesting thought there. What about the Chargers offense though? And therefore, the Chiefs defense too. How do you think they matched up?
Yeah. I thought the Chargers, like, obviously the first half scared me because it was like we were a heavyweight fighter and we were just going blow for blow. And I was like, oh man, okay, this is gonna be one of those games. Whoever has the ball last is gonna win. And so I think our defense did pretty good where they got a couple good stops in the first half and slowed them down because I think they could have torched us, but they kind of buckled down. And then, I mean, I know we started talking about the offense, and we always talk about the offense. But, man, that Chiefs defense, that is for real. 0 points in the second half. And so 2 takeaways. I think, were those both interceptions in the second half?
I believe so.
I think so.
Yes, they were. They were both in the second half.
Right.
So the Chiefs started the second half with a fumble, and the Chargers turned around and had an interception on their first possession of the second half too. So both teams started with a turnover in the second half. Yeah.
And then the guy, Charles Omenihu.
Yeah, man.
Omenihu showed up. Man, just huge. A sack already, and then a tipped pass.
Yeah.
Just already making his presence known.
Yeah, Chiefs are still leading the league in batted passes. So, man, that was huge. Now, we even kicked around the idea of them bringing back Frank Clark. Whether we agreed with that or not, there's a lot of rumors that he's going to be. As of now, he's still not on the team, which maybe they just knew what they had in Charles Omenihu and thought, we don't want to give another roster spot for Frank Clark. Not that they don't love him still, but just, for what they had, they thought they were good. And, man, with Charles Omenihu and Chris Jones now both going, I mean, if I remember correctly, last year Charles Omenihu was second in the league in pressures. So that's what the Chiefs brought in, right? So maybe he was third, but second or third. But anyway, so now you got him and Chris Jones going at the quarterback, and that's what every team needs. They need 2 guys who can put pressure on the quarterback. And yesterday we talked about it, being able to put pressure on the quarterback without blitzing. Right. And yes, we blitzed some too. And even Willie Gay got himself a sack and some others as well. Drew Tranquil, going against his former team, got himself a sack too. But there were a lot of possessions and a lot of snaps there that the Chiefs were able to generate pressure on the quarterback without blitzing. So that was a good sign. So hopefully they can continue that progression as well.
Yes, indeed. And so I think 4 sacks. Chris Jones, I think, got a sack and continued his streak. With a sack in every game he's played for a long time now. 9 games, I think, straight. And so that's pretty impressive. And then, to see Tranquil, who played for the Chargers, released by the Chargers and now found a home in Kansas City to get a sack against his old team must have been a great feeling. And then Willie Gay is an electric factory. And so anytime you see him just running or jumping or whatever he's doing, to see him tackle the quarterback was fantastic. And then I thought our secondary held up pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that first half, I'll be honest, I was a little worried. I even started thinking, and even text you saying,
even text you
and said, hey, is this really a top 10 defense? Have we been fooled? Right? Because I mean, they only forced a couple punts in that first half, but other than that, they were the Chargers were marching up and down the field, just doing whatever they wanted to, moving the ball with ease and scoring, putting up points, just matching the Chiefs hit for hit, right? And I thought,
yeah,
I know it's a division game, but man, this is supposed to be a top 10 defense. Where's this defense at? And, thankfully, they made some halftime adjustments, and the Chargers scored no more points in the second half, and the Chiefs were able to then win by a score of 31-17. So win by 2 scores, which for the Chargers doesn't happen often with anybody. They're always right there within 1 score of teams. I think they even showed a graphic yesterday in yesterday's game, but over the last 10 years, they had 99 games of 1 score game outcomes in their games. And I think it said that the Chargers had lost, I can't remember exactly, it was like 65 of those or something like that. So just they had been in so many games over the last 10 years and just had lost so many by 1 possession or less. So, but I was glad to see the Chiefs defense was still the Chiefs defense. They're still the only defense in the entire NFL who has not allowed over 20 points in a game this season. Only team to do so. So hats off to them.
Yes. So let's go to the Chargers here. What's wrong with them? Is it coaching? Is it scheme? Okay. All right.
I'll just answer that real quick. A lot of it is coaching, right? So they're down in the second half, the end of the first half, right? They get the ball. The Chiefs just score. They have, I believe, 15 seconds left in the first half. So they get the ball back, and what do? They go out there and they take a knee, right? Yeah. And so the Chiefs are getting the ball to start the second half. So we know that, they know that. And instead of their coach calling a play in order to, try to do something. So I know they have 15 seconds. They got on their own 25-yard line, but if nothing else, at least try a screen, try something just to see if you can get some. And, if you try something and nothing's there, it's like, okay, fine, it didn't work, we'll take a knee. But just go out there and say, we're not even going to try. I mean, the Chiefs have proven that in 13 seconds you can tie a game up, right? And go into overtime. Yeah. Ask the Bills. They remember that game, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
And so they have 15 seconds and they say, we're taking a knee. We're just going to bow out. They're down by 7 points at that time. So there's 17-24 halftime. And they say, what? We're just going to go to halftime. I know the Chiefs just scored, a touchdown, but we're just going to go to halftime and let them get the ball, start the second half. That is poor coaching, in my opinion. Right. And so there's many different times as well that there's time towards the end of the game, right, where they ran 3 straight times instead of trying to pass the ball. They just paid Justin Herbert, and at the time made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and the highest paid player in the NFL. And instead of putting it in your players' hands as making all the money, you decide, what, let's just run it 3 times in a row. And I know we're only getting 1 or 2 yards, but let's try to get on third down and see if we can get it. And then they don't get it, right? So, and then they punt the ball away. So I think a lot of that has to be coaching.
Yeah. So we're sitting here week 7, right? Week 7 just ending up. The 49ers and the Vikings are playing right now. And we have a 3.5 game lead in our division. How crazy is that?
That is real crazy. I read somewhere that the Chiefs could potentially, obviously a lot of things would have to happen, they could potentially win their division before December gets here. So they could win their division with 5 or 6 games left in the year still.
Oh, my goodness.
And obviously a lot of things would have to happen for that to happen, but I mean, just the fact that they would even remotely be able to do that at this point is crazy, right? Not even halfway through the season and a few games potentially away from already clinching the division. All these people who keep saying every year the Chargers are going to win. It's their year. The Broncos, they got a new head coach. They're going to do something. The Raiders, well, okay, maybe we don't believe in the Raiders, but all these other teams, right? It's like, well, until you knock the champions off, let's not kick them out of the palace just yet. Yeah.
And so, any other thoughts on the game, or do you want to go around the horn? Like some of the games in this weekend were just crazy.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll point out is, Mecole Hardman brought a spark to the special teams, as we mentioned, right? That long punt return.
Yeah.
Harrison Butker still perfect in field goals. Man,
knock on wood. Yeah.
There you go. Can you hear that? Knocking on wood here. Yeah. So it was a good, complete game. I'm hoping that this means maybe our offense looks like the last couple of games are back on track. So hopefully that can continue that flow.
I was going to say, we didn't even talk about our offensive line, only giving up 1 sack.
Yeah.
The entire game against.
It's the best game they've played so far this year.
Yeah. And so, like, Khalil Mack and Bosa are both really great pass rushers, and not for Mahomes to be comfortable back there the whole game.
Yeah.
Just sitting there waiting for his spot and then extending plays. And, man, it just looked good to see the offense in full circle. So
and for all the flack that Juwan Taylor's taken at that right tackle spot this year for some of his penalties, man, he played lights out, right? So that offensive line, hats off to him. Best game of the season so far for them. So great. The only other thing I'll mention is Nick Bolton, right? Only other thing I want to talk about. So he got hurt in that game, right? And so it came out that he dislocated his wrist. And so they're saying that he's going to need surgery on it even. And so he'll be out probably a minimum of 4 weeks, but they said he's going to try to look for some other opinions too, to make sure if there's anything else they can or can't do as well. So looks like
it up.
Play
with a cast.
Yeah, put one of those big clubs on there, right? Yeah.
Old school.
We haven't seen anybody play with the club in a while, so I think he could do it. So it sounds like he's going to be out at least a couple weeks though. So hopefully that'll all work out for him and he'll heal well.
He looked like he was in some pain.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, when I saw it live, I thought, oh man, I thought he really broke his wrist is what I thought. So I'm sure it's not fun to dislocate it either, but man, it's didn't look good. That's for sure.
It did not. No.
But yeah, let's do a little around the horn here. We can hit a few of these games real quick. So the big game we have to talk about, right?
Yes.
Is the Bills games, right? The Bills.
Yeah.
If you remember, we have a ongoing list of our bottom teams in the AFC, right? And in this last week, leading up into this week, the Broncos were last in the AFC. The Patriots were next to last. Well, and in the previous rankings, we had the Bills as the number 5 team in the AFC.
That's right.
And wouldn't you know that the number 15 seeded AFC team, so second to last in AFC, playing the number 5 AFC team, would go in there and beat them. Right. So, I mean,
wild.
Josh Allen, I'm not sure that they got much left for him, right? They still believe in him, but right. I think they missed their window. I do. I think they missed it.
Yeah. I think the 2019 season was the window, and then we closed it, slammed it shut.
Yeah, so Patriots won that game 29-25. The Patriots scored a touchdown late even, and so you kind of thought, well, okay, well, they kind of got that, but then the Patriots come right on back and score to win. So
I know, I couldn't believe that. I thought for sure the Patriots were going to blow it, but no, they did not.
Yeah. Well, and then another division game here, the Raiders game, they got blown out by the Bears 30-12.
That's
good as a Chiefs fan, but not good if you're a Raiders fan.
Right.
Just pulling more and more away.
Well, I think that the further the season goes on, it kind of just tells you who they are, right? And so the Bills, it tells us who they are. The Raiders tells us who they are. They're a bad team. Like, they may win the week before, but then they lose the next week, and they're just a bad team. And so the Broncos, bad team. They beat Green Bay. Green Bay's not very good. Who cares, right? That just chalks up as congratulations. And you beat a bad team.
And even to the Bears' credit, Justin Fields is not playing the game. They started a guy who played in Division II football, started his first ever NFL game, and put up 30 points on the Raiders. If that tells you anything of how bad the Raiders played, I mean, it's not good. All that the Raiders were able to put up with field goals, so not good. Not good.
Yeah. I think those were the main ones, right? Oh, Detroit and Baltimore. That was the other one. Detroit and Baltimore. Baltimore destroyed Detroit. 38-6. Yeah. So I don't know what that means. Every team can have a bad Sunday, and so maybe they just had a bad Sunday. And then the Miami Dolphins. What happened to the Miami Dolphins down there?
Well, let me tell you, Dale. I'll tell you. So if you follow us on X, formerly Twitter. So if you're not following us, you should. It is Kingdom_Corner, both with K's. Kingdom_Corner on X. We put this out just last night after the game about some of the Dolphins' offensive numbers that I'll read to you real quick. So we'll make this quick for you. We won't spend too much time on here, but the Dolphins' offensive numbers per game this year against teams with, well, first of all, we'll start with teams without winning records, all right? So with playing against teams that do not have winning records, they are averaging 40.6 points a game, 519.8 yards a game, passing 330 yards a game, rushing 189.8 yards a game rushing. And even if you take out the Denver game where they put up 70 points and just blew them out, those numbers come down a little bit. But even so, if you were just put out the rankings for just those offensive numbers, they would still be first in the league in every single one of those categories, even without the Broncos game considered in there where they put up all those numbers. However, right, they've also played two teams that have a winning record this year, and they've lost both those games. And so in those games, they've only been able to put up 18.5 points a game, which would rank them 23rd in the league. They've only put up 318 yards per game, which would put them 20th in the league in that category. Passing 225 yards, which puts them 11th, so a little bit better there. And rushing 93.5, which would put them 23rd in the league. So when they play teams with winning records, they are not putting up the same numbers. So the teams with winning records they played and lost to are the Bills and the Eagles. So, and I'm not saying they can't have a fluke game, but now they've had a couple fluke games against good teams. And, they might be fool's gold, Dale. They might be some fool's gold. And I'm not saying taking anything away. They still have great players and a great offense and can still put up a lot of points, but I'm not so confident in them now as much as I was even last week.
There you go. And then while we're recording this live, the 49ers and Vikings game is over, and the Vikings ended up winning the game.
All right.
So congratulations to the Vikings.
Yeah, so 49ers have now dropped 2 in a row. So against the Browns and the Vikings, two teams that I think going into these last few weeks, nobody would have thought would have been the teams that would potentially upset the 49ers. So being without Deebo Samuel, I mean, maybe he's playing a bigger role, his absence, than we give credit for. I know he's been injured and banged up, but, man, even his presence, must generate a little something there. So the other game I'll mention, too, is the Browns and the Colts. The Browns end up winning that game 39-38, but I don't want to say the refs give games away or make teams win. But, man, there were some.
I will.
Okay. You can say there were some bad calls, right? And so, I mean, they called a pass interference on the Colts in the end zone on a ball that if the guy would have been 12 feet tall, he wouldn't have caught it. Right. And so there's supposed to be a catchable thing. So if it's uncatchable, it can't be pass interference. And they called that, right? Man, and there's just several bad calls down the stretch where the Colts should have won, and they just kept the Browns drive alive to help them get there and win. So it was crazy to see that.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So, but like you say all the time, any given Sunday,
that's right.
A team can lose or a team can win.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. So
that's right, and that's why we love the NFL so much. Is we love the competitiveness where really any team can win any week.
That's right.
And so it's fun to watch. It's fun to continue to follow in those areas. So, man, got the Broncos coming up next again. So we'll preview that game here in the next couple of days and get ready for that. But as you're listening to this, make sure you are liking this video, you're subscribing to this video, commenting on this video, sharing this video with your friends. Help us get this out to all the people that we can. There's not many good, clean podcasts out there about the Chiefs, and this is one of them. So hopefully some good content for you as well. And, man, comment, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We really would. Any questions you have, or even during the game, tweet us or whatever. And maybe we'll try to tackle some of those questions in an episode coming up as well. So we want to be here for you and try to help you as much as we can and give you any knowledge that we can too. So we might not be experts, but we're basically professionals, right? Something like that. Something like that. So, well, thanks for joining us in this episode of the Kingdom Corner. This episode is brought to you by Ohay Threads, where a portion of every purchase goes to support missions all over the world, one super soft tee at a time. You can find them online at ohaythreads.com. We'll see you next time right here in the Kingdom Corner.